Welcome to Ask Me Anything, featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
Hi, everybody. I still love that opening. And by the way, Bill K, who actually made that announcement, is going to be on the show on April 8th, I believe it is. So I'm really excited about that. Hi, everybody. I love this River Member. That's a great name. Hi, Gina. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Verna. Hey, Shannon Jones. Hi, Arlene. Hi, Chrissy. Hi, Santing. How is everybody? I hope you guys are all doing well today. We have a really great guest that we're going to talk about in a minute. But a couple of things I wanted to say first before I even get to the astrology. I was very sorry to hear about Monday, about the shooting in Boulder. It's so disturbing. And I've spent a lot of time in Boulder and I have really great friends there. And I'm so sorry. It's so saddened to hear that. And then to hear about tornadoes today in Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia, and I have family all throughout there. So I was really, it's pretty upsetting, and it's an ongoing thing. And people have asked me this week, what is the energy of this week? Because this week has some pretty intense energy, as you can feel it. A lot of people felt disconnected from their bodies. They didn't feel like they were connected. They felt uncomfortable. People were having trouble sleeping. They just didn't feel congruent with whom they are. And so I will say this. We have an aspect tomorrow that I do want to talk about. That's a really powerful aspect, one of the big aspects. And I'm speaking now from Vedic astrology, and it's a very powerful day tomorrow, but this energy would have been felt all week, which I think has everything to do with Monday, and I think everything to do with the weather situation going on now and going further this week. I think we're going to still see some big events occurring. So what it is, and it's tomorrow. The big day is tomorrow, March 26th. It's actually Mars conjuncts Rahu. So Rahu in Vedic astrology is the north node of the moon. And the south node of the moon is called Ketu. So you may have heard the term Rahu and Ketu. It's the dragon's head and the dragon's tail. And Rahu is an enemy in Vedic astrology of the sun, the moon, and Mars. And yet tomorrow, Mars conjuncts Rahu, which means it's very close to, next to it. So it gives it a lot of power. There's a lot of power there. It's what we call explosive power, intensity. And I think this whole week has been, the energy is from this experience of tomorrow, I think. And this happens every couple of years, but this is a really powerful one because they call it at 19 degrees, which makes it very eventful. And so I think that tomorrow is going to be a very transformational time. I do. Not just tomorrow, but for the next few days after that. I mean, again, we already started watching at the beginning of the week. So that is something. And then on the 28th of March, we have a full moon, and it's one of the super moons. And that's going to be in Libra. And that's going to be really interesting because the sun is in Aries and the moon will be in Libra. So Aries is, what about me? It's all about me. And Libra is, what about everybody else? And in a relationship, think about that one, is it about me or is it about we? So it's going to be a very interesting full moon because it will bring out a lot of emotions for people. It'll bring out, I would say this, from this moment on, for the next several days, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, watch your temper. Watch how you feel. Put yourself back in your body. Count to 10 before you explode. Just kind of take a breath. It's a great time to be into deep meditation. It's a great time for that. And the full moon on Sunday, this full moon would be a great time to put your crystals out, actually, and really baby the crystals. It'd be really good for that. It'd be very It's a powerful time for that. So that's what I'm going to suggest doing. Oh, Anna says she's getting her vaccine on Saturday. She's very nervous. Do I feel safe for us to do it? Yes, Anna, I just had my second vaccine last week, second one. Now, the first one, and I had Moderna. That was what was offered to me. The first one made me a little sick. The second one, not really. Not really. A little woozy. Felt like I said to my husband, "Did you slip me a Mickey?" I kind of felt a little woozy. But I think for me, it was a really great decision to do. So there you go. Um, oh, Joanne Barkley, no, don't boil over yet. It's not the time. But Kathy Hode Strout says it explains why she's feeling off and on edge. Yeah, it really will explain this week what I just said. So just, oh yeah, crystals in salt is good. That's right. I forgot about that, Nikki. That's a great idea. So yeah, my arm got sore too. Lisa Phillips said she had her first one. Her arm got sore and lethargic. That's true. But overall, it's a piece of cake. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, Lisa. I am really grateful. Mary Baker says she got mine and she's happy and relieved. I am too. I have to tell you, I actually was able to go out and sit outside and have my nails done. First time, manicure and a pedicure. So I felt pretty good about that. Anyway, so let's talk about our guest. We have a great guest. Now I'm going to say her name and I'm going to tell you about her. You guys are going to love her. You're just going to love her. And then we're going to bring her on. So her name is Marie Manuchehri. I had to make sure I was saying it right. I had to spell it phonetically. And she's a nationally known energy intuitive. So we're going to find out what an energy intuitive is. It's really cool. She's an author, she's a Reiki master, and she's a teacher. She's clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, and she has a full sight of the chakras and the human energy system surrounding the body. She's also a medium, and she has an amazing ability to connect. And she started her career as a nurse and as a cancer nurse, actually, as we were talking about earlier, an oncology nurse. And this is where her gift came out. So I'd like to welcome Marie Manuchehri.
Thank
Hi,
you, Kelly.
Marie.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. So tell everybody, what's your story? How did this happen? And then I want to talk about what an energy intuitive is.
Sure. Well, my story's a little bit backwards. A lot of people work in modern medicine and then choose to go more of a holistic route. My family of origin's very holistic and ignored modern medicine to the best of their ability. So when I told my family I was going to go to nursing school and become an RN, they weren't exactly thrilled. They were why are you going to do this? But I had this really cool experience when I was pregnant with my first child. I went back to college later in life, in my late 20s and early 30s. And I was walking into a hospital in a small town in Oregon to give blood because the OBGYN didn't have a phlebotomist in his office because it was such a tiny town. And I remember the night before I was nervous because my family's not, they're not into the hospitals and doctors. And I walked into the hospital apprehensive and felt enormous joy just fill my entire body.
Wow.
And the feeling stayed with me for weeks. I still recall it to this day, a few decades later. And that's what made me decide to go into nursing school.
Wow.
So I know,
it was energy.
It was energy. I didn't even have the words and the vocabulary to say it then, but I felt the energy and it brought me great joy. So I went to nursing school, loved every minute of it. I still miss the hospital to this day. Every day I miss the hospital, but I just happen to love what I do more now. And while I was an oncology nurse, which was also not a plan, I wasn't planning to work in oncology, but I'd had a lot of tachycardia. I was working 3 12-hour graveyard shifts while I was helping to raise our 3 daughters, my ex-husband and our 3 daughters. And I finally went and saw the cardiologist. Because nurses, we wait too long. We're like, So I pulled them over in the hallway and said, my heart has been racing for a few months. And he did a whole workup and luckily everything was fine. But he said my biorhythms were off and that I needed to go from night shift to day shift. So
Wow.
the only opening in day shift at that time was on the oncology floor. And to my delight and surprise, I also loved oncology nursing. It's amazing to work with a team of people who are just devoted to an individual's recovery. And you never think
Wow.
about age or race or, none of those
Yeah.
things come into your mind. And it's just so fun to be with a group of people who are just looking at cancer cells and watching medication work. Hopefully it's working for them. And while I was on the oncology floor, I began to see, hear, and feel energy
From other beings around?
from my
Like
patients.
patients' loved ones on the other side, you mean? Or
Now their body started talking to me. So I would be at the bedside, changing a dressing or putting in an IV, some nursing task. And all of a sudden, what would typically happen is the blanket that was on top of them, a regular cotton white hospital blanket, it would start to glow. Right, it would just like highlight itself. And because I was raised very holistically and with a lot of spirituality, I read the Seth Speaks when I was like 10 or 11 years of age. I was very comfortable just gazing into the blanket, and then I would go through their skin, and then I would be in an organ, and then I could hear the organ talking to me about why they were not responding really well to the medication, and then the underlying reason, the emotional and energetic reason why they were sick. So that's how it started for me.
wow. Wow. Where did you go from that moment?
Well, no, that's a great question. I didn't tell anyone, as you can imagine, for a while. I
Wow.
didn't even tell my now ex-husband about it. But I was a charge nurse most days, and I was concerned that someone would code on the floor, because that's the charge nurse's job, is to run the code team, and that I would be looking at and hearing, because every day I would have many, many more multisensory experiences.
Wow.
So I went to our supervisor on the floor, our nurse supervisor, and I told her what was happening to me. And I thought for sure she was going to suspend me and order a psych eval, because I would have done that.
Sure.
But she surprised me and she said, "You're seeing energy. I want you to start laying your hands on our patients." I know.
Okay, you've got such a lucky break with that one. I mean, or a divine break with that one, because that could have gone south real fast.
I know. So I started laying hands on our patients, and I trained myself in the hospital. So I'm a self-trained healer. Physicians on 3 different occasions wrote orders physically in the chart for me to go. They would use therapeutic touch or some sort of, technique that they knew of, because hands-on healing is not that uncommon in the medical world. Healing Touch, which is an organization that has practitioners in almost every hospital in the country, and they will work, they will come in and take care of patients or family members. So sometimes the doctor would come to me and go, "Hey, could you go do that thing that you do to Mrs. Johnson?" And some days I would say, "No, I have pagers on me. I'm running around taking care of, the nurses." And they go, "Okay, well, I'm writing an order that you're going to go do therapeutic touch." And then of course I would be obligated under my license to.
Wow. Wow. And when did you become an energy intuitive?
So about a year and a half approximately after it started in the hospital,
Hmm.
people would just randomly show up at my house for healing. And I
Wow.
didn't even have a massage table. I hadn't taken any formal training. I would lay them on my couch and put hands on them. And I've always been very clairvoyant the moment I started to lay hands on people, which I think is so interesting. I've touched, thousands of people as a
Wow.
nurse and never had, like an intense intuitive experience until I did it with the intention of being present with them, to allow myself to have a multisensory experience. So I quickly took a weekend Reiki workshop and convinced my former husband to buy a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't know what I was going to do with, a massage table, and I bought like a clinician's non-movable table. So it was kind of expensive, like in 1998, and he didn't want to buy it actually, but this is a funny story. One of his friends came to the door because I was a little bit submissive during my marriage, so he had control of our resources. And one of his friends came to the door as I'm trying to get permission to use a credit card to buy this stuff for my healing room that I didn't know what I was going to do with.
Oh my
And
gosh.
his friend convinced him to buy everything that I asked him to. And a few months later, his friend was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And he laid on my table for several months before he had his corrective surgery. And then because my RN license is still active now, even today, but I was able to go into the critical care unit immediately after his surgery, and he had a full recovery. Of course, I also credit wonderful neurosurgeon, and
Sure.
I believe that healing comes in many, many different ways.
Yes. Wow. Wow. And then, so as an energy intuitive, if somebody were to come to you, what do you do? What is an energy intuitive?
It's a great question. So I can see the energy of organs and bones and vessels.
Wow.
And I just have most people's bodies just welcome me in energetically. I had to learn to be in my own body when I go grocery shopping or walk my dog, so that I'm not constantly interrupted in the real world. So I immediately can tell where someone has a health issue. In fact, when someone makes an appointment with me, I don't know anything about their health issue. I don't even know their name until moments before we communicate, because as you know, going in cold
It's everything.
Right, it's really powerful. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm able to see the underlying energetic and emotional reasons why someone has a disease in their body. And then I'm able to help unravel it and teach them techniques and tools to maintain that frequency. And then I also, because of my medical background, I can help them with physicians or medication or whatever happens to be going on. So that's what I do. But when you're intuitive,
Yeah.
yes, I talk to dead people and I help people with their love life and their work,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. This is just fascinating. Oh, wait, let me just, there's a comment here. Alyssa Watling says, I work in the medical field. Occasionally I claircognizantly pick up on words like kidney infection, and turns out my intuition, I think she means, is correct without knowing the patient's medical history.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that's, I'm assuming, what you do?
Well, yes. When I trained myself, I would go into patients' rooms that I wasn't assigned to, which I rarely wasn't. I was rarely assigned to patients because I worked as a charge nurse. And I would, the nurses on the floor knew what I did, even though I was still learning what I was doing. And I would ask permission, can I go in there and, do whatever I'm going to do to your patient? And they would say yes. And so I would lay hands on them and receive, visions and auditory experiences that I built an encyclopedia in my head about what energy makes what disease. And then I would go read their chart and put it all to, validate. Oh, yes, it was uterine cancer, or like this lovely nurse who talked about the kidney infection. Yes.
Wow. And then on the same level, once you diagnose it or once you energetically intuit it, do you do things to heal it, or do you advise, or tell me how that works?
Yeah, I really think I'm a healer first and
Yeah.
foremost. That's my
Truly.
right. That's our
Yeah.
primary job.
Yeah. Yeah.
The diagnosis, isn't necessary really, except, other than the underlying causes. But a lot of people who come to see me, their doctors aren't able to diagnose them, or they've been misdiagnosed. A lot of autoimmune disorders, I think, are hard to diagnose as well. Of course, some of the people I see have been diagnosed, and 60% of the people I see are still very, very ill, and then 50% don't have serious health issues. Just maybe some
Well,
pain.
and tell me, what do you think causes autoimmune?
Great question. So the third chakra, that's right here.
The power center.
Power center. It governs the immune system: liver, pancreas, gallbladder, spleen, stomach, small intestinal tract, and the lymphatic system, and then the endocrine system. It's no wonder it's a power center in most of what we read about. Now, it has an emotional component, as all of the 7 primary chakras have their own unique emotional component. And this particular vortex is all about self-love. And so if people love themselves authentically, because it's an experience when you love yourself, it's not just a thought, you send tons of energy and light to your immune system. So the underlying, different people have slightly different reasons or slightly different patterns or belief systems. But overall, the main reason why we have autoimmune issues is a lack of self-love.
Wow, I've never heard it explained like that. I always think that it's the body attacking itself, but if it's attacking itself, it doesn't love itself.
Yeah.
Wow, that is fascinating here. Self-love, yes, Shannon Jones. See? So what can people do when they have an autoimmune?
Great question. There's many different things that we can do, thankfully.
Okay.
And of course, different people will be attracted to different aspects of tools and techniques that I give, but I'll give a few of them here. One of them, I love curious, positive, what if questions, because there's another interesting aspect to the third chakra, and its relationship to the third layer of the auric field, which is called the mental plane. And many people think very, very negatively,
So true.
Right?
So true.
And they'll ask throughout the day, what if this terrible thing happens? What if that terrible thing happens?
Yeah.
So we're feeding through our thoughts even more negativity into that power chakra that's governing the immune system, breaking it down even further through our negative thinking. So I love what if questions, positive ones. What if I fell madly in love with me?
Oh, wow. I
What
thought
if
you were going to say, what if I fell madly in love with you or somebody, but you said you. What if you fall in love with me? Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What a thought.
What if my body's happy, especially when people have been dealing with health issues for a long time? If we put in words like health or healing, they might have resistance because they've had so many setbacks or frustrations. Yeah. So I love using language, if we're going to use a what if question. What if my body's happy? Yeah, because that will indicate health, because the body's going to be happy when it's healthy.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one thing. And then another fun thing that people could do, and you can use tuning forks if you're uncomfortable with what I'm going to share. I love to tone. So a lot of my teachers are from the non-physical realm. They'll walk in my office and spend a couple of months with me and teach me things, especially if I'm resistant.
And so when you say non-physical realm, the other side will come in, spiritual people, doctors, all kinds of people, souls will come in to help you, is what you're saying. Okay.
Yes. And so about 15 or more years ago, someone walked into my office and taught me how to tone through my voice, because sound shifts energy. And so it allows for the frequency to move into different vibrational patterns of wellness. And so I thought maybe I could do a few moments of toning. If I can do it later if you want to.
No, let's go for it. Everybody's all excited about this.
Okay, great.
This is exciting.
So, one of the things, if you have an owie on your body or something that's not feeling well, you could rub your hands together and just kind of warm up the medium-sized chakras in your hands, and then find a fun place to place them. Like, I'm just going to put mine on my chest, but you could put it on your head or your knee, whatever's bothering you or you wish felt better or stronger. And then I'm going to close my eyes, because I do it when I tone anyway. I'm going to close my eyes. And then if you could stick the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, it activates the Hinyu, the Kundalini in the body, which is a very powerful energy. So, and then we're going to drop our tongue and we're going to make some toning sounds. So I'll go ahead and please join me whenever you want to, please. So
my husband's like, oh no, not her.
I'm going to take a deep breath.
Okay.
I'll do it a couple more times.
I could feel that in my body.
Good. Yay. Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't join you. I think I was like,
that's okay. So I tone a lot on my clients, and of course I do everything online now. So
but when you do that, it shifts everything.
It does. Yes.
That was really amazing, actually.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for saying that. That was really, really amazing. I have a question for you. Elizabeth Preston says, which was a good question. Have you seen issues with hormonal
Oh,
imbalance, I think, in
of
women?
course. Yes.
And she's talking about particularly acne. That's an interesting.
Oh, interesting. Well, you know, when the hormones are off balance, well, that is one of the things that can occur. Yeah, I'm also a big fan of herbs, and I've been
Okay.
taking vitamins and herbs my whole life. So I do make suggestions to my clients, but I also ask them to please ask a nutritionist or you know, someone who's actually licensed in the. I mean,
Yeah.
I can still even under my license, but because it's over the counter. But yes, taking a lot of things to affect your adrenal glands, like ashwagandha, holy basil, or some great blend. Ah,
I actually have my
yay!
Agashawanda. Yes.
I love
Wow.
it, right? And then some maca root. You can find some blends that will have maca
Yes.
root in it, right? And that
Hmm.
should help the acne.
Wow. That's amazing. Tune in and tone. I love that. This is Marie. If anybody would like to set up a session with you, they can, right? How would they do that?
You can go to energyintuitive.com and we have an online schedule. I do book out a little far, so you know, just be a little bit prepared to wait. I do answer questions like we are here on my own radio show. That's how I met Kelly. I'd heard about you
Oh,
and reached out to interview you, and I'm so glad I did. It was a
oh,
delicious.
I'm so. And your radio station is, in case people want to listen.
11:50 a.m. KKNW. It's in Seattle, but it's online. You can go to, I think it's called Podbean, where it's housed, and you can listen to any of the shows that are there.
Oh, great! That was a lot of fun. Gina Marie says, so much great information, Marie. I have had a hiatal
Mm.
hernia in my third chakra and
Oh,
lots of digestive issues, and I am pretty hard on myself and need to practice self love more. I have been having a hard time sleeping for over 2 years, especially in my bed. Is there any insight on sleep problems? Great question, Gina.
it's a great question, but I kind of want to back up to the hiatal
Okay.
hernia because it's
Okay.
interesting, right? It's in the third chakra, but hernias are, at least hers, is related to her root chakra. So it's about her family of origin. It's about her childhood.
Now,
And
how did you get there?
it just, her body told me and showed me.
Okay. Okay. That's what I needed to know. Okay.
Sorry about that. It just, you know, kind of happens. And so it actually has to do with her relationship with, or Gina, your relationship with your mom. So I would, and not maybe how the relationship is right now, because I don't know what it's currently like. I'm seeing some childhood experiences where, you know, parenting is the hardest job on the planet, I
Yeah,
think. It's
for sure.
challenging, and we're all doing the best we can. But there's some things I think it'd be great to do some meditation and ask, you know, your higher self to show you whatever's in your highest good about coming to some sort of healing about your youth. Because I think you can even get that hernia to shrink back a little bit, because we don't want it to get bigger. You know, we don't want the tissues to continue to separate or the vessel to get, you know, more relaxed. We want it to settle down. On the sleep, and I agree about the energy this week. I mean, there was one day I felt like the veil like completely disappeared. It was very distracting.
Very distracting. I know exactly what you're saying. And I think this is why people were not as connected in their body. It was just
Mhm.
an odd week, and we're not done yet. I have a question here from Rachel Rogertson, which is a great question too. She says, one of my really good friends in his 30s, he's suffering from colon cancer. Um, does him having high anxiety and being high strung, is that part of the reason that's occurred to him? It's a great
Yes,
question.
it's a great question. So the colon is also connected to that first chakra. So the first chakra governs all the properties in our blood. So, you know, your iron level to the cholesterol level, and then it governs the colon, the coccyx, sciatic nerves, and all the bones and ligaments and tendons from the hips on down. And really, Rachel, what would be lovely, and we kind of talked about this earlier, but if your friend could fall in love with himself, because he is hard on himself. He's very self-deprecating. I don't know if he is outwardly, but in his brain, and then that goes straight into his colon. It comes from his family of origin. Some people are just more critical when they're raising kids. I mean, and sometimes it can be under the carpet, like it's not super obvious, but Right. So if he could fall in love with himself, that would be amazing for his colon.
Oh my God, I love that. I love what you just said. Everybody should fall in love with themselves. Kim Ann Snodgrass asks a great question here. Would weight issues also be the third chakra?
They absolutely can be, but one of so there's general things that affect, let's say the majority of the population, and then there's individual things. And Kim, I would say not so much your third chakra. There is one thing I'm going to recommend that will help that, but you have a very busy and powerful brain, a stunning, gorgeous, powerful brain. And people who have really strong, powerful brains, they have to be less negative than everyone else. You have to be even more positive, not
So true.
right? When your
Yep.
brain is strong. So that would be number one. But one of the things that actually helps metabolism to improve and digestive issues is to actually take some light herbs for the liver, like a light, liver cleanse that would have things like dandelion weed in it and milk thistle.
Wow.
But nothing serious. Like I think sometimes that hardcore liver cleansing is too much for the body. And it probably, I bet within a couple months, you'll notice your weight issues changing.
Wow. Trace, thank you for that. Tracy Hildreth says, what about foot and feet and ankle pain? Is that related to fear of leaving?
That's a really good question. I don't believe so. In most cases, anything to do with the feet, it has to do with being stubborn and not being flexible. Right? Your feet are on the ground and you won't move,
Right.
Fascia gets tight, and then we get that, what is that called when the feet get really irritated? I forgot what it's called. There's an actual term for it. But, and ankles are about not allowing the universe to support you, which is also an aspect of letting go and not trying to do everything yourself. So I would try that phrase. What if I surrender? What if I get out of the way?
Right. What if I just get out of the way? Oh my gosh. Let's see. Nikki Diana says, hey, spiritual family, I have a question about frequencies coming out of my hands. Okay. It always is at springtime. That has happened every few years. I'm a bit psychic. I've had some electrical forces come out of my hands and symptoms of a spiritual awakening. My third eye has been sleeping, been working on myself the last few months. So what say you on this one?
Well, first of all, how exciting and how fun and how wonderful. And I think you have to get with the program here, Nikki, because they're talking to you every spring, right? And they're saying, babe, can you belong here? Can you
Come
please
on.
embrace your magnificence and delight in your genius and allow more of your extraordinary abilities to come forward? So maybe I would even make a what question for that. Like, what if I allow my magnificence to shine through? What if I feel safe to be my omnipresence?
Oh, I love that. Hunter Vaughn says, I have heard that knee issues are due to not being flexible. Would that, what is that? Do you think that's
I
about
disagree.
it?
I disagree.
Okay.
But it could be, right? Like nothing has to be in stone. Knees are about searching for something. So when I look at the knee anatomy, when people are looking for the love of their life and they've been looking for a long time, or a great career path and they can't find it, it breaks down the cartilage and all the supporting factors in the knee joint, potentially, because the knees will act like a beam of light and kind of, look around the world trying to find whatever you're looking for. And as you know, Kelly, when you want something, you have to let go of it so it can come, right? So I guess you could say that could be an aspect of not being flexible,
Can you, so Lords says, can you please address osteoarthritis
Yeah.
and especially of the knee?
It's so interesting how we're really talking about the root chakra a lot tonight.
Wow. Let's even talk about that. Just expand that for a minute, what the root chakra is.
Yeah, so the root chakra is the first chakra in the body, and the tip of it is literally in the perineum, because all the chakras to me look like cones. They originally look like an orb, but when I dive into them, they turn into cones, and they're very beautiful. They spin, and they're just gorgeous creatures. So the base of the cone for the root is meant to end right around mid-thigh. So arthritis is a first chakra disease because the first chakra governs all the bones in the body as well, every single one of them, and all the bone marrow. So people who get arthritic issues, which of course are more in the joints and things of that nature, It's because now this would be a lack of flexibility, that they're very stubborn, and bones are the strongest element in the physical form. And so stubborn people tend to create, not consciously, we don't consciously create these issues, problems with their bones and their joints. So it would be fun to, when you have that stubborn energy, it kind of, for me anyway, feels like, if you notice that you're feeling that way, stop yourself and get curious about the thing that you are resisting.
Ooh, I like that. Does stubborn come from family of origin?
That's such a good question. What I like to think, first of all, a lot of psychics are stubborn. And you can disagree with me. You can totally disagree.
Probably right.
And I think it's because it helps us to hold on to what we're hearing, seeing, or feeling long enough to decipher it. And so that way, it's a tremendous blessing. And because it is a form of resistance too, or it could be, how nice is that to have that awareness of what our stubborn energy might feel like, so that we can catch it and learn to get curious about whatever it is that we're resisting.
Oh, that's so true. Okay, here's a good question. Eye issues. Let's talk about eye issues, because Milena says, what about strong nearsightedness? Why she can see well, actually. And then Susie Wright says, I need help with eye issues. So tell us about eye issues.
Great. So eyes are, they are governed by the third eye. The sixth chakra governs all of your senses, your five senses, and of course your multisensory ability. And when you have eye issues, it means you're not seeing yourself accurately. And usually what that means is you're being too hard on yourself, you're not seeing your magnificence. So try, if you have any eye issues, try being more delighted in the being that you are, and think outside of the box of any limitations you believe you have, because everyone is an incredible creature. Everyone is.
So really everything comes down to loving yourself.
Yeah, I know. When I first,
in the simplest way, but it's true.
When I found that out, like it all boils down to that, I went, God, that's so annoying, because it's so hard to really.
And it's such a simple thing, though.
Yeah.
But everybody gets so complicated. But it really is a simple thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Psoriasis. I think is psoriasis, or am I saying that right? Ptosis. Yeah. Oh, she's saying ptosis.
Oh, ptosis?
Or cytosis? I think she means psoriasis.
Yeah, probably, because ptosis is a medication. I'm not sure what the word is. Psoriasis, we'll say that that's what it is, right?
Okay.
It's your skin, right? It's issues with your skin. The seventh chakra on top of the head, which is our connection to the divine, God, source, energy, whatever you believe in, it governs all of the skin in your body and your central nervous system. And so if you allow, if you allow the universe to love you, back to some form of love, if you allow yourself to receive energy from the divine, which is a very intuitive process. I mean, you and I have to do that. We have to let the universe love us. We in order to allow our intuition to come in and to continue to come in, and so we can continue to grow with it. That helps with skin issues.
It all comes to positive love, positive. Now, Charmaine says, what about blood disease?
That's a really great question. So remember, the root chakra governs the properties in the blood. So if you have a blood dyscrasia, which means that some of the cells in your blood are not functioning the way you want to, or in other words, like maybe you have too many white cells. So that would be a first chakra issue. And the first chakra, I'm glad that we're talking about again, because it keeps coming up. It's about how you felt growing up. Did you feel nurtured, loved, and safe? Because when a baby is born, the root chakra isn't completely formed. It's after birth, the root chakra starts to move into shape and balance. And it takes about 2 years, the amount of time it takes to build the immune system for the average human, for the root chakra to take shape. And then it doesn't finish growing until emancipation, meaning when you move out of the house, so it can take 18 years for it to fully grow. And that particular vortex, we need to feel that we're part of a community, that we are adored and cherished. and cared for. And that's what when we don't have that, and which not, some people don't have that and
Right.
necessarily work on that because it's no fun. Nobody wants to work on their childhood stuff.
Right.
Then they could potentially have problems like blood dyscrasias.
So if you've had a mother, particularly, or a father that was borderline personality disorder or a narcissist or any of that, that would have knocked you off your root chakra, basically.
Yes. And if you had a challenging delivery where you weren't able to really ground, because babies try to ground after they're born,
Yes.
there's problems in the development of that vortex as well.
That's fascinating. Oh, wow. I have to talk to Dr. Shirley about that. You'll have to meet Dr. Shirley. This is fascinating. And blood cancer.
Same thing.
Same
So
thing.
when people are having blood dyscrasias, which dyscrasia means in a nutshell that the cells are not looking like what they're supposed to. And that's usually what precancer looks like, is that the cells are going from, let's say, red blood cells to, that doesn't look like a red blood cell anymore. And so when we get cancers in the blood, it is still related to the development and the health of the first chakra and what happened in childhood. And we can heal ourselves of anything. We need to change our perception. We need to be kinder to ourselves, loving to ourselves. And I think overall, do your very best to have a positive attitude about whatever you can have a positive attitude about, because then you're bringing in really high vibrational energy into your body.
Yes, yes. Laura Parmley Hoffman says, what about anxiety, worrying, OCDs? Great question, Laura.
Such a great question. So I might have a different viewpoint than other people. That could be possible. I personally feel that humans should not listen to their mind. I think you should only listen to your thoughts if you're in the present moment. And I think people are in the present moment for a nanosecond.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a punchline. Yeah.
And I think our real feelings is, and so people will have thoughts and then they will create an emotion that's mind made and they think that's what they're feeling. So anxiety isn't even real. I mean, it is, if you feel it, you have effects from it, but our real emotions come from the second layer of our auric field outside of our body. So if people can learn to rest in their second chakra close to the belly button or anywhere in the lower half of their body, they can ask, what am I really feeling? And when you get into your real authentic emotional feeling, you have a multisensory experience. You might see color, you might hear a sound, you might feel tingling in your body.
Right.
And then you're going to find out what you're really feeling. But I think most people should assume they don't know what they're feeling. And I don't think people should listen to their thoughts. The mind was created to solve linear problems in the moment. Like I needed to make sure I got on the link before we went live so that we could be connected, together. That's the only thing I think the human brain was created for, is solving linear needs in the moment.
That's amazing. What about schizophrenia?
That's such a good question. First of all, I wish we would look at certain things as okay, whether it's, Asperger's, autism, Down syndrome, souls are choosing to have experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're highly evolved souls.
They're highly evolved. And when you are born with something, and a lot of people, schizophrenia, although we're beginning to understand it slightly differently too now, we're starting, and of course I'm speaking to an expert here, Kelly, you know all about this.
Well, I always view it as a spiritual approach. I always look at it always that way, because when I had my brain injury, I realized that there was no such thing as time, as space, and mental illness. It didn't exist.
Right.
And what I saw was a brilliant kind of a place where the brain can just open up into. And that's the way I view schizophrenia, where the Kundalini energy can go straight down or it could go straight up.
Wow, that's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah, I wish we would view mental illness as, what if it's okay?
Yeah.
Not that we don't have to treat it if it's going to make that person happier or whatnot. But there could be so many wonderful things that this person could learn about themselves, or that we could learn about them if we stop thinking that it's so terrible. So I don't think that's helpful.
No, that is very helpful. Thoughts versus mind. People are saying, Soray is saying, "Hi, Soray." Oh, I just love her. Thoughts versus mind. That's good for you to know. Leg cramps. Oh no, before we even get to that, let's talk about COVID and treatments and vaccines.
Okay, all
Great
right.
question. Thanks, Anna.
Yeah. So, do you have a specific, just anything about it? Yeah.
Yes. What are your thoughts?
Well, and I feel kind of bad about to say what I'm going to say, but I've really enjoyed the quiet.
I
I
have too, although I've been busier than ever.
Me
But
too.
I kind of like the closing down for a bit.
I really liked it. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I don't wish anyone any hardship of any kind, and I don't wish anyone any health challenge or loss of
Yeah.
work or any of that, of course. So I've liked the quiet. I'm actually impressed that we haven't had a pandemic in over 100 years. You know, in
Yeah.
nursing school, you're taught about pandemics, and so I'm surprised it hasn't happened till now. I wish our country had responded differently. I think
Yeah.
we'd be in a totally different place. We would have
Yeah.
opened up a long time ago, like Australia and New Zealand, and would have been a very different experience. I think I know I will get vaccinated eventually. I love to travel, and I think that we're going to have travel restrictions. So I mean, I don't like to, you know, I've had other vaccines, of course, even as a nurse, we have to be vaccinated for hepatitis B and all kinds of
Yeah.
interesting things. But I think everyone needs to look at it individually, but I think it's a good idea. It's a pandemic, it's around the world.
Yeah.
And we don't know how some people are going to react to the virus.
Yeah.
So my guides told me that we're so lucky this time around that we have the technology to create a
Mhm.
vaccine to create stability.
And my guide said the same thing, that it could go fast because technology here was ready to receive, and that they had worked on the other side for the answer to this, and they were putting it out as fast as they could, because now they could do it. Now there were doctors and scientists that could grasp it fast, and the technology had to move it fast along, and that's why it happened so quickly.
Wow. Yeah, because it's unheard of to
It's
have a vaccine.
unheard of.
It takes at
Yeah.
least 10 years for them to create
Wow.
a viable vaccine that we can use in our population. So
Wow.
it's great. It's right. It's remarkable. I think everyone should listen to their own intuition, and
Yeah.
maybe some people want to wait a little bit. Maybe they'll have to, depending on where they live. But
Yeah.
our state's going to vaccinate. I think everyone will be available for vaccines in May in our
Yeah.
state. Mhm.
Wow. And you're in Oregon, or you're in
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah, in Washington.
Um, Jennifer Poole says she had a brain injury in 2016 and it changed my life. I get it, Jennifer. Me too. In 2000, it is life changing, isn't it? It's an interesting one. I'll say that. Um, so this is, everybody's loving what you're saying. I mean, this is really, really, really helpful. Everything that you're saying. Um, Many great artists have had mental problems. Yes, Arlene, they sure
Mm.
have. Um, if looks could kill, you'd be a weapon of mass destruction, miss. I'm not sure what that means. But let's see. Facial hair or excess or loss of. Tell me about that. Is that
So
something?
So hair is going to be associated again to the crown chakra, the seventh one on top of the head, because it's on the skin. So,
Oh,
so loss of hair is going to be related to: are you allowing the universe to love you? Do you let them help you? You know, Kelly, I can tell you let the universe help you. I
yeah.
can. Congratulations. I think that's a challenging thing to do, and I'm in awe when, when spiritualists allow the universe to help them. I think it's very
Thank you.
smart, actually, and intelligent of you to do so. So literally just say, please help me with everything today.
That's
And
exactly what I do. I
really,
do that all day long, actually. Before reading, I do it. When I wake up, I do it before I go to bed. Just help me. I just need help. Please keep helping me.
so
I
do
thought
what,
everybody did that.
no, do what Kelly does,
Yeah.
because she's right on. That will
Thank you.
help your hair and your skin enormously.
Seriously, it will. Oh my gosh. Oh, do you know any? Lisa is asking this. Would visualization help with learning to heal and love ourselves?
Absolutely. You know, let's say that you have a kidney issue,
Okay.
and the kidneys are connected to the second chakra, and the emotion for the second chakra is joy, and it also governs. It's the only chakra that also governs key elements of human desire, like career, money, intimacy, close personal friends, and creativity. So usually we have an issue with one of those things in our lives. So if you can visualize the kidneys happy, maybe even with a smile on their face, or and you could look at, if you're not sure what the kidney looks like, you could look it up in a beautiful magazine or a book. And so visualizing with the feeling of joy, you always want to add happy frequency to your visualizations, because it's the feeling that's going to have the most movement in anything you want to manifest. But yes, visualizing can be great too.
Oh my gosh. I love that. The expression of joy is everything. I mean, literally, and it's a mindset. You want to feel joy? Start being happy. It's a mindset. Just
Exactly.
turn your low potassium, eat more. I'm not sure. Possibly. In fact, what are there any minerals or anything that you can recommend for people to make them, I don't know, happy, feel better?
That's a good question. The potassium question I thought was interesting, and what I think this person needs to do is take some trace minerals, so that, because I think there's other minerals in the scene that the potassium can't then grow from. Magnesium is a fabulous, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like a Prozac, everybody. I'm not kidding you. It's like a real joy upper.
It really is. It relaxes your body and your muscles. It helps you sleep or rest, or and we're really depleted, like how we've been depleted with vitamin D, but now most people take some sort of vitamin D supplement, and we're not as afraid of it like we used to. Doctors were afraid that bad things were happening to people if they overdosed on vitamin D, but very few people ever do. So magnesium would be a great element for many people to consider taking every day.
Right. So let me see. Vitamin D. So you're talking about vitamin D. I agree with what you just said with that. Oh, thyroid problem. Millennia is talking about a thyroid problem.
Great question. The most prescribed medication in the United States is medication for the thyroid.
Wow.
So it's funny. A lot of people say the solar plexus is the power chakra, power center, and I'm sure that's true because of everything that we've talked about so far. But I think this is the most powerful chakra in the physical body, personally.
The voice.
The voice, yes. And speaking your truth. Like look how wonderful your life is, Kelly, because you're able to stay in alignment and do what you know is true and what feeds your soul, regardless of what anyone else may think or whatnot. You stay devoted to your truth. And
this is true. I do.
I know
you do too. And you do too.
You do. And it feeds your life. So the fifth layer of the auric field is called the divine plan, and it's actually an etheric template, and it has everyone's natural gifts and talents circulating on this beautiful field of energy that will never change. In other words, your natural gifts and talents will always be there. And when people speak their truth, which can sometimes be challenging, but what I recommend is don't wait till you think you know your truth completely, because truth is supposed to change over time. We're evolving creatures. So whatever your truth is now, share it, write it down, speak it, and your throat chakra will send beautiful energy to the fifth layer of your auric field and activate your divine plan. But to answer the question specifically for this person a little bit, is they need to feed their adrenal glands, because when the adrenals are low, which is really the main reason why we have so much thyroid prescription in the United States, when the adrenals are low, then the thyroid will try to feed energy to the adrenal glands, and that's what depletes the thyroid. So you always want to feed your adrenals, like what we were talking about a few moments ago. And then that will help to enhance the thyroid and at least get it to stop giving energy to the adrenals.
Oh my goodness. That's wonderful. Daryl says, what do you think of B12 shots for energy and supplements?
Especially for people who have type A blood. They usually are very low in B12. So
it's me.
I'm
A positive.
Yep. So I love Dr. Diodamo's book, The Blood Type. You write for your type. I think he's a very smart, intelligent man, and I think his writings affect the majority of the people who are the blood types that he writes about. So yeah, especially type type A needs B12, a lot of it. And so the injections would be really great. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, if you're an O or a B, you need complex Bs. You need as many Bs as you can get that are in a complex, a good multivitamin complex from a good sustainable brand of
Right.
supplements regularly. Yeah.
Wow. Dehydration headaches. Katerina Familia is asking about that. She says, I get them all the time, even though I drink so much. Is that due to trace minerals?
Well, actually, in her case, no. So I actually think her headaches are because she's blocking her intuition. I think she has great intuition and she blocks it. So that's why drinking all the water isn't going to, I mean, please keep drinking water. That's
Right.
good for you. But it's not going to solve your problem. It has nothing to do with dehydration. It's because you need to learn to get into your emotional body, because that's where intuition is in the authentic emotions. And you don't do that, from my opinion. I mean, no disrespect.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. It's fascinating. I love that you can read people so quickly. Oh, migraines. Nisa Vashon is asking about migraines. Same thing? Wow. Wow. And low iron, Mary Knight asks.
Right. And it's Mary, you said, right? Mary Knight.
Yes.
When I think of Mary, I just want to cry. So that means, Mary, you need to cry. You need to like grieve a little bit, because iron is, again, it's a property in the blood. So it's governed by the root chakra. And I think you need to grieve some stuff. I mean, I could assume that it has to be with childhood. It doesn't have to be, because our patterns recreate, whatever we didn't work on. It shows up in a different way, different people, different decade. But I think crying, she's also highly empathetic, and empathic people need to learn to express sorrow.
So true.
Right?
So true. Hunter Vaughn asks, can you read animals?
Oh, yeah. Although I'm kind of slow with my own, because, I'm busy. I have
I hear you.
I have a busy life, and my dog, Charles, I'm a first-time dog owner. Charles. I love him so much.
What kind of dog is Charles?
Pardon?
What kind of dog is Charles?
He is a golden doodle standard, big boy. And his ears have been bothering him. And so, of course, I took him to his holistic vet, and they did say it's probably food allergies, but I'm very picky about what I feed him. And so we've been dealing with this for like a month. And then I finally asked my intuition yesterday, because the medicine wasn't working and stuff. And they go, raw diet. I used to feed him raw food, and I stopped.
Oh, wow.
Because it's time consuming. You have to let it thaw out, and you have to be careful with it.
Right.
So I put him back on raw food last night, and his ears haven't bothered him at all, and not even 24 hours.
Interesting. So you paid a lot of attention. Wow. I love that. Great question. Lori Letterby says, what do you think of CBD?
Oh, well, of course, as a nurse who worked in oncology, we encouraged, and a lot of doctors gave prescriptions to our patients to even smoke marijuana or eat it. So CBD oil, I think, is great. It's good for arthritis. It's great for inflammation. You can even get it without the THC. You can use hemp oil that doesn't have THC. That's the kind I use, because I'm sensitive. Psychics, we're already drunk around all the time, basically. We don't need stimulants.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
Well, my God, this whole hour has gone so fast. I told you it was going to go fast. I know. Let's tell everybody about the classes that you're teaching.
Oh, sure. So I do coaching programs, because I started to have to do online since I don't teach in person right now. So I do a 12-week coaching program in psychic coaching and an 8-week in financial freedom. I have an energy medicine one that I just posted today that will be 12 weeks. And I do one about vibration. If you want to be happy and you want to attract what you want in your life, I think it's good to start off with, let's get your vibration frequency in a powerful, receptive place.
Wow. And that's a 12-week program?
That's 12 weeks too. Yes.
Wow. And they can find you, energyintuitive.com.
Perfect.
And they can find you there. And if they want readings also, they can go. It's just going to take a while to get in. But
yes. And you can always call into the radio show, and I'll answer people's questions for free, of course.
And the radio show, again, is what day and what time? And
Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And you can go to my website and listen live. It'll show you a link to the listen live button, or you can wait till it turns into a podcast, which is a few hours after the show, and go to Podbean, where we have hundreds, including the interview with Kelly, located on there.
Wow. Well, gosh, this was such a treat. You'll have to come back again because I'm going to get a lot of questions. And now, oh my God, there's so many things that I'm even reading the comments going, oh, that I would love to know more about all of this. This is so fascinating.
And I'd love to have you back on my show too.
Oh, we'll do that. We will do that. Well, gosh, thank you, everybody, and have a great week. Be calm and love yourself. Thanks, Marie.
You've been listening to Ask Me Anything, featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.